They live for the thrill of pursuit, not for love, not for connection, not for the warmth of a true bond. The chase is everything to them. For a narcissist, it's never about genuine feelings. It's about the excitement of the hunt, the satisfaction they get from seeing you chase after the little bits of attention they drop. Your confusion feeds them. Your efforts to prove your worth give them life. They survive on your reactions, on your energy, on your desperate need to fix what's broken. But something remarkable happens when you finally stop chasing, something they never thought possible. The predator, who once seemed powerful, begins to stumble. The perfect mask they've worn for so long starts to break. The person who once appeared untouchable begins to fall apart. At first, they won't believe it. They've spent years building the illusion that you'll always return, always explain, always forgive, always give them one more chance. They have studied you carefully, your habits, your emotions, your weak spots. They know how to pull your strings and keep you hooked. They bet everything on your predictable need to make things right. But when you finally stop chasing, when your energy no longer runs toward them like a river they can drink from, it's like someone cuts the power during their performance. The stage goes dark. The spotlight fades. And for the first time, they're left standing alone in silence. The moment you decide to stop running after a narcissist, something deep begins to change. They've built their entire sense of worth around the idea that you'll always react, whether it's through love, anger, or endless explanations. Your reactions are their oxygen. Every argument, every emotional message, every attempt to make them understand, each one tells them they still matter. It reassures them that they still have control. But when you step back, when you give them nothing but silence, the balance shifts quietly in your favor. It's not cruelty, it's self-respect. Silence is not weakness, it's strength in its purest form. It says what words never could, that you're done playing their game. Narcissists are addicted to reactions. Without them, their entire system breaks down. At first, they'll pretend not to care. They might act amused, as if your distance doesn't matter. They may post things online to make it seem like they've moved on easily. But beneath that fake confidence, panic begins to grow. Their entire world depends on being seen and validated, and suddenly their main source of supply, you, is gone. They'll start trying to provoke you because your silence feels like starvation to them. They may send casual messages that seem harmless but are full of hidden bait. They might post pictures to spark jealousy or use mutual friends to check if you still care. None of these are coincidences. They are carefully planned moves meant to pull you back into their orbit. But every time you refuse to respond, every time you remain still, you draw a line they cannot cross. Your silence becomes a mirror that reflects their emptiness, and that is something they cannot bear to face. As days pass, your absence grows heavier for them. They start to realize that the power they believed they had was never real. It only existed because you kept giving it to them. You were the source of their energy all along. When you stop feeding it, their game collapses. They're left standing in the quiet they once used to control you. It's not loud, but it's devastating. They begin to feel the emptiness that your presence once filled, and nothing they do can replace it. For you, this moment is freedom. The energy you once spent explaining, defending, or justifying yourself slowly returns to you. You begin to feel lighter. Your mind becomes clear. You no longer wake up with a heavy chest or constant worry. Every silent day that passes weakens their hold over you until it fades away completely. Silence doesn't mean hiding, it means reclaiming your strength without wasting a single word. It's the choice to stop proving, stop chasing, and stop feeding a cycle that only hurts you. And while they scramble to understand why their old tricks don't work anymore, you're already moving forward stronger, calmer, and out of reach. A narcissist survives on borrowed energy. Everything they show, the charm, the confidence, the boldness, is not who they really are. It's a mask carefully built from the validation of others. They depend on admiration, attention, and emotional reactions to keep that image alive. When you were trying to earn their approval, you were unknowingly fueling that mask. Your attention, even your anger, gave them life. But when you pull back, when you stop reacting, their mask starts to crack in ways they can't hide anymore. At first, they'll fight harder to protect their image. They'll seem more confident than ever. They might flood social media with pictures showing how happy they are, tell everyone they've never been better, or show off a new relationship. But that's not real joy. It's performance. They're trying to convince both you and themselves that nothing has changed. Deep down, though, they feel it. The loss of your attention leaves a hole they can't fill. The emptiness they've avoided starts to show through. The mask that once came easily now feels heavy and hard to maintain. Their charm starts to feel forced. Their stories sound exaggerated. Even people who don't know the truth begin to notice something feels off. Without your steady stream of attention, their performance loses its spark. The charisma that once drew you in now feels shallow because charm without someone to receive it is just noise. The unraveling becomes painful to watch even from afar. Narcissists are terrified of facing who they really are. Their whole identity depends on admiration because underneath they are full of shame and insecurity. Your silence forces them to confront this truth. Every time they see your name or think about you, they are reminded that someone who once fed their ego no longer sees them as special. That's not just rejection. It's a direct wound to the false self they've spent their entire life protecting. They may try to replace you quickly, searching for someone new to fill the void, but each new connection feels hollow. No matter how hard they try, they can't recreate what they had with you. Because what they miss isn't love, it's control. New people might give them temporary attention, but it doesn't last. The cracks in their image widen. Friends start to notice their behavior. Co-workers might sense their fake confidence. Slowly, the perfect mask fades and the emptiness beneath it becomes harder to hide. Watching this happen from a distance can be strangely empowering. You don't need to expose them. You don't have to prove anything. Their truth reveals itself naturally. Your silence does what no confrontation ever could. It lets their own illusion fall apart under its own weight. That's the hidden power in walking away. You don't need revenge. You don't need closure. Your absence is enough without your energy to feed their ego. They're forced to face the thing they fear most, themselves. And when the mask finally breaks, all that remains is the truth they've been running from. When you refuse to react to their provocations, you tear down the base of their control. Narcissists are experts in emotional manipulation. They know exactly which words to use to make you angry, jealous, or insecure. Every message, every post, every accidental run-in is meant to pull you back into their game. They don't care whether you respond with love or rage. What matters is that you respond. Any reaction tells them they still have power over you. But when you choose silence, when you don't take the bait, they lose the one thing they depend on, your attention. This phase usually starts with small tests. Maybe they send a harmless message pretending it's casual. Maybe they remind you of an old memory or send a random emoji late at night. Or maybe they post something meant to make you jealous, a picture with someone new, a caption that only you would understand. Sometimes they pretend to be sad, posting a vague status or a picture that hints at heartbreak, hoping you'll reach out. These are all traps. They are not signs of regret or love. They are attempts to pull you back into the cycle. When you ignore them, they'll grow restless. The more silent you are, the more desperate their attempts become. They might act angry, then sad, then suddenly affectionate. They may try to guilt you, saying you've changed or that you never cared. But don't be fooled. They're not seeking closure, they're seeking control. Every message, every gesture is a way to reopen the door you finally closed. Your silence drives them crazy because it reminds them that you're no longer under their influence. As time passes, you'll notice something else. You begin to heal. The more space you give yourself, the clearer everything becomes. You start to see how deeply you were manipulated, how much energy you gave away, and how strong you actually are. The peace that once felt unfamiliar becomes your new normal. You find yourself laughing again, enjoying quiet moments without fear, realizing you don't need their approval to feel whole. The narcissist, on the other hand, continues to spiral. They may jump from one person to another, always chasing new validation, but the emptiness follows them wherever they go. Because the truth is they can't escape themselves. Every relationship becomes another performance, another mask. And no matter how hard they try, they can't recreate what they lost. Not because you were replaceable, but because what they truly lost was control. Your silence is not just a boundary. It's a statement. It says, I choose peace over chaos. I choose myself. And that is something a narcissist will never understand because while they live for the chase, you've learned to live for freedom. You've learned that real power isn't in fighting or proving. It's in walking away without a word, knowing that your silence speaks louder than anything you could ever say. A cryptic comment meant to make you uneasy. None of it happens by chance. These are traps carefully laid out to pull you back in. Your silence is more powerful than any words you could say. When you don't reply, when you scroll past their posts without giving them a single reaction, you break their illusion of control. People like this rely on you being predictable. They expect you to ask questions, to defend yourself, to react. When that pattern ends, they lose balance. They can no longer depend on their old tricks because the person they once controlled is no longer playing their game. Your calm indifference makes them uneasy in ways your words never could. The more you refuse to react, the more desperate their actions become. What starts as small hints or mild teasing can grow into bigger, louder attempts to get your attention. They might try to make you jealous by showing off with someone new. They might start gossiping about you or spreading lies. Sometimes they even pretend to be in crisis, needing your help with something only you could fix. But every time they do this, it shows your silence is working. You are taking back control of your emotions and they are losing theirs. This process is not simple because a narcissist knows exactly how to hit where it hurts. They remind you of old memories, the love you once shared, the future you talked about, or the mistakes you regret. They try to bring back guilt, sadness, and longing. But every time you stay calm and don't give in, you win back a little more of yourself. You show them and yourself that they no longer control your feelings or your actions. Over time, their tricks start to fail. The very things that once worked for them begin to expose how desperate they truly are. People around them start noticing. Their innocent messages begin to look manipulative. Their public smiles look fake. Their perfect image starts to crumble. And it's not because you called them out. It's because their own behavior reveals the truth. Without your response, their manipulation becomes a lonely act with no audience. By not reacting, you do more than protect your peace. You completely change the game. The narcissist is forced to face a truth they've always avoided. They do not control you, and they never really did. Your silence speaks louder than any confrontation. It becomes a quiet declaration of independence, proof that you will no longer feed into their drama or their need for attention. The fall of a narcissist doesn't come with a sudden crash. It's a slow, quiet breaking down that happens from within. At first, it might look like nothing is wrong. They keep posting pictures, smiling, pretending to be fine. But under the surface, something starts to decay the moment you stop giving them attention. Their entire identity depends on getting validation from others. Without it, the foundation holding their ego together begins to crumble. It's like a tall building built on sand. When the sand shifts, the structure starts to fall. Even if the cracks take time to show, it begins with discomfort. The narcissist is used to instant responses. They're used to your texts, your worries, your efforts to fix things. When those stop coming, they face an emptiness they don't know how to fill. At first, they might rush to replace you. They'll seek new people to give them the praise they lost, but it never feels the same. Each new connection burns out faster because their desperation scares people away. Every failed attempt to feel important leaves them more frustrated. Their charm starts to feel fake. Their confidence shakes. The mask they wear begins to slip. A moment of anger, a strange silence, an awkward reaction. People around them start noticing the cracks. Friends who once admired them start to see the manipulation. Co-workers begin to question their reliability. The narcissist tries harder to cover it all up with news stories, distractions, and fake positivity, but the effort drains them. That exhaustion is the beginning of their quiet downfall. They cannot reflect, cannot take responsibility, cannot grow from pain. So instead of changing, they keep doing what no longer works. They chase bigger attention, faster approval, more drama. But every new attempt gives them less satisfaction. The praise that once fed their ego now feels empty. The victories they chase disappear quickly, leaving them even more hollow than before. It's a painful cycle. The more they chase validation, the less they find it. And the less they find, the more they chase. Time becomes their enemy. As they get older, the tricks that once drew people in lose their magic. Their once charming confidence now looks like arrogance. Their humor feels mean instead of clever. New people in their lives see through them more quickly. Relationships don't last. Conflicts rise faster, and their reputation fades little by little. What once looked like success now feels like desperation. They try to act unaffected, still putting on a show for others. But behind closed doors, the silence they once ignored becomes loud. They feel the emptiness of every broken connection, every night without attention, every attempt to pretend they're fine. Their fall isn't explosive. It's quiet, lonely, and slow. It's the weight of their own emptiness catching up with them. While they slowly crumble, something else begins to grow in you. You start to rise. The energy you once gave them, the constant explanations, the emotional effort, the endless worry begins to come back to you. At first, you may not even notice, but as time goes on, you begin to feel stronger. You see that all the energy you gave away was actually your own power, and now it's returning. With that energy comes a new kind of peace and clarity. This healing isn't about revenge or about proving anything. It's about rebuilding yourself after being drained for so long. When you stop giving your attention to them, you make room to rediscover yourself. You begin to heal, to remember what makes you happy, to reconnect with people who truly care. The world starts to feel bigger again. You find joy in simple things you once loved. You rebuild friendships that faded during the chaos. You wake up with a calmer heart. That happiness, quiet and genuine, is their silent defeat. It proves that they never had the power they claimed. Narcissists want you to believe you can't live without them, that leaving them will destroy you. But every peaceful moment, every smile, every dream you chase proves them wrong. Even if they never see it, your growth sends a message they no longer matter. Healing doesn't happen all at once. It takes time and patience. Some days memories will come back. You might feel lonely or curious about what they're doing. You might want to check their posts or wonder if they think of you. That's normal. It doesn't mean you're weak. Every time you resist the urge to look back, you build strength. Every time you choose peace instead of chaos, you claim your life a little more. With time, your standards rise. You learn to see red flags earlier. You trust your gut more. You understand what real respect feels like. Healthy people begin to enter your life. You meet friends, partners, and mentors who treat you with kindness and balance. You stop chasing love that hurts. You stop explaining yourself to people who never listen. You stop begging to be seen because now you see yourself, and that is the real victory. The freedom you feel doesn't depend on whether the narcissist ever understands what they lost. It exists because you finally understand what you gained. Each day you move further away from their control and closer to your true self. Your silence was never weakness. It was strength in disguise. It was the moment you stopped feeding their illusion and started rebuilding your own truth. And as their world falls apart behind the scenes, yours becomes brighter, calmer, and real. You no longer walk on eggshells. You no longer apologize for existing. You no longer shrink to make someone else feel powerful. You simply live free and unbothered. The narcissist's downfall is their own creation. They built a life on lies, control, and borrowed attention. When those run out, there's nothing left to stand on. But your life is now built on peace, honesty, and self-respect. And that foundation will never crumble. You no longer need to prove anything to anyone. You've already won by walking away. Their noise fades into silence while your silence grows into strength. And that strength will carry you forward into a life they will never be part of.